Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Recently, I'm sure you know, Turki Alalshikh and Canelo Alvarez had words with each other, and there was all a bit of a spat going on. And I did a video on it. I think a few of us on YouTube did videos, and we a lot of us, myself certainly, felt, well, this is two egos just banging heads, locking horns, and let them get on with it, because they're both as bad as each other in the ego sense. Alalshikh used to get in his own way no matter what, used to waving however much money he feels something's worth under the noses of whoever, and they instantly accept it. And of course, Canelo saying, no, I don't accept that, I didn't think up this fight, you did. Don't make the presumption that I'm going to be towing the line. And Alalshikh saying, well, I offered you a great deal and you should be accepting this. If you've got any sense, you'll accept it. And Canelo doesn't like to be told what to do. He's an independent operator. And so, the pendulum swings one way, it swings the next. And to be honest, I didn't have much faith. I didn't have much sympathy, I should say, for Canelo, because I think he has ducked both Morel and Benavidez and is somewhat cherry-picking easier fights. Belanga, Munguia, these are not bad fights, but they're not the ones we want to see, and they're certainly not the most high-risk fights. So I didn't have a lot of sympathy for him, but also I made lots of points in quite a few previous videos that I've done about the fact that we don't want a dictatorship in boxing. That is bad. If you think back to when Al Heyman and PBC first came on the scene, every fighter after a fight was, and I'd just like to thank Al Heyman and so on and so forth, and it all became very much a sort of love into this great, fistic deity. And suddenly what happened? The whole thing became a sort of cult a few years down the line, and the sheen wore off it to reveal what was underneath. Now, it is feasible. In fact, I think it's probable, if you allow anyone, including Alalshikh, to be a dictator, you will see what lies beneath, and it won't be pretty. But I have to say that whereas I didn't have a great deal of sympathy for Canelo, even though I could see kind of where he's coming from, one person I do have sympathy for is Tim Tszyu, because he too has been on the sharper end of the excellent turkey's tongue. He said I will not work with Tim Tszyu. I'm not interested in working with Tim Tszyu. He was very dismissive of the idea. This is when Oscar de la Hoya mentioned it. He said, I'm not looking to work with Tim Tszyu. I want Virgil Ortiz versus Bud Crawford. And in the end, De La Hoya went, okay, we'll make that fight. But Tim Tszyu, what did he do? I'm talking about him personally. Never mind his team, but what's he done? Why has he been frozen out? Why isn't the excellent turkey milkshake liking him much? Well, Tszyu doesn't seem to care, or at least his team are giving the impression that Tszyu doesn't care, because he is due to fight for the IBF title. The IBF junior middleweight title is a guy called Bakram Murtazaliev, another one of these multi-syllable Eastern European names or Middle Eastern names. But Tszyu's going to fight him for this IBF junior middleweight title, and then perhaps we'll go looking for Bud Crawford. You don't know. Maybe the winner of Crawford and Ortiz, if they fight. But Tszyu, he had that fantastic bloodbath with Sebastian Fundora and lost. Was there a rematch clause in place? I want to say there was. Or maybe no, there wasn't. There wasn't, was there? Yeah, that was a strange one. That there should have been, but there wasn't. And now Fundora, it looks like he's going to fight Errol Spence. But Tszyu's representative has said that he's after the belts, he's after the legacy. He's not really interested in what Turki Alalshikh has got to say. And this is a guy called George, I say representative, this is a guy called George Rose, who is the chief executive of No Limit Boxing. And he says, right now we're going for the IBF title. Terence Crawford doesn't own that. That belongs to Bakram Murtazaliev. So we'll be fighting Bakram and we'll be winning that world title. Then we've got another piece of jewellery for Tim, and we'll be looking at what the next opportunities are for him. And Mr. Rose also said, Alalshikh is pushing Terence Crawford's case. Terence is his Riyadh season ambassador, and he wants what's best for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has now got a belt. He's a guy we would love to talk to in the future, but right now we're focused on Bakram, and we're getting that fight done. We want to win that belt, and Terence Crawford is also focused on what opportunities lie for him in this division. So further down the line, it's a possibility, like I said. He'll never be king of the division. This is Crawford if he doesn't fight Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is the king of the division. Well, that, of course, is, you would say that, and it's not proven by any stretch of the imagination. But this is, I do feel for Tszyu, and I kind of, okay, that wasn't him himself speaking, but I can imagine he would agree with those sentiments, and I think it's good that his team are saying, we're creating our own legacy, we're going down our own pathway, we're carving out our own little niche, etc., etc. And, no, we don't jump. When you say jump, we don't say how high. We're not performing seals here. This is a world-class fighter, former world champ, and we're going to do our own thing. And if you don't like it, well, that's too bad. And if you want to work with us, you can negotiate. You don't just make demands. That, I think, is a good thing, because as I've said before in several other videos, if you don't have competition, you have a dictatorship. If there aren't options for fighters to go for, different options, then you might as well be talking Dana White in the UFC, and we know how bad that goes, because it's just a load of fucking terrible. They're vastly underpaid, the fighters are, and yeah, you know the UFC model. I don't need to explain it. So I'm all in favour of Tim Tszyu standing his ground, doing his own thing. And Australian boxing, of course, is flying. It's Liam Paro's great, Jaya Pataya. In the ladies division, you got the ladies code. You got Sky Nicholson, Ebony Bridges might be coming back. These are good, fun people to watch. Well, most of them are entertaining to watch, but the point is they're all very skillful. They're all very good. So Australian boxing is really enjoying a pretty much a renaissance, if you like. And I salute Tim Tszyu. I think he's a good fighter. A little bit unfortunate to lose to Fundora, although, to be honest with you, with not having a rematch clause in place and taking such a bizarre opponent, 6'5", 154-pound guy, taking him as a substitute opponent, he couldn't have got much. How do you get sparring if you're a 154-pounder for someone who's 6'6"? Like a praying mantis, a collection of limbs tied together in the middle. Great fighter, I like watching Fundora because he's so peculiar to watch. And he fights small as well. And he's a tough kid. He's a tough kid. People talk about the chop on Tszyu's head, which, yes, very, very, very bad injury. But Fundora had a busted nose and was swallowing blood, and he proved he's a tough nut too. So he had that fight. To me, Tszyu actually proved a lot in that fight, the way he carried on fighting through that horrendous injury. He was going to fight Virgil Ortiz Jr. The injury wasn't ready. He couldn't do a lot of sparring and so on, so that was rightly cancelled. But I do like watching him. I think he's a good fighter, Tim Tszyu. And it'll be interesting to see if he does win that IBF title. And if he does, what's next? Anyway, what do you think's next? You leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the like button as well if you could, and spread the word about Joe's Son of Boxing, because it makes sense. Build the channel up. And I am looking forward to hearing what you've got to say, or to reading what you've got to say. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.